Hello everyone, Daniel Curry here. So, alright, the last video we went ahead and we learned how to use reference tracks in order to get our mix better. Kind of just wanted to show you what to look for when using a spectrum analysis and a reference track. And we had a few, and I told you I was going to use the 7 Lions track to reference against my own track, but since then I decided to do, this is one of the tracks that are going to be on my Tech Obsessed EP. So this one is really very quite ambient, so I decided to use the churn track with it instead of the 7 Lions track. Now, I have to move quickly, right, in order to explain this, but there is some setup that is involved before this, okay? First off is, here's what my track sounds like, right? Start from here, very ambient, a bit more. Oh, there's a motorcycle going by, hold on. All right, and then around this point, okay, so you know how that works. Just going to go through a couple of movements. A little bit of tones on the top there. Here's a vocal sample from the 4 strings. Listen. Okay, and this is the fullest part of the track right here. Okay. So first thing that I have going on here, okay, is when I throw a reference track, I don't want to throw a reference track right next to all the other tracks, because then whatever I'm doing on the master channel, right, is going to affect the reference track as well. So the way that I have this set up, you can see I have everything grouped into 5 main stems, okay? Sometimes I'll use 6 stems and have a synth 1 and a synth 2, but in this case I have synth 1 bass, audio, which is just that vocal track, effects, and drums, okay? Now each one of these, if I crack it open, you'll see I have 2 instances of alchemy here. I have some operator, man, I'm getting double up vocals really bad on this piece. Let me figure out what to do here. Maybe if I turn that off, well, that's a little better, but that's not going to help. So you're just going to have to put up with it. 2 instances of alchemy, operator, and an instrument rack on synth 1, bass 1. I have an instance of analog and instrument rack, which is composed of FM metal, Subfreak, and Eclipsis. Then I have the audio track, my effects, which are mostly just rendered waves, and then my drums, which I have rendered down to audio, much like what I showed you before, but they are pieces of my drum kits, okay? So what I have is I have all of these, okay? And if I open up my I.O., you'll see that they all go to track number 19, okay? In fact, I can call this my bus track, okay? And then on track number 19, it's getting audio from, how about if I turn this off and I get it to no input? There, that should be better, right? So what it's doing is this bus track is monitor, wait, can you hear me at all? Okay, you can. In the bus track, in this monitor, you can see that I have it set to in. Now listen. What that does is all of these stems are being summed up there in the bus track, and that way, on the bus channel, I can put all of my mastering stuff and mixing stuff and effects, all my processing here, so that in track number 20, which is where my reference track is, it's got its own set of stuff, and it's not being affected by all of these. As you can see, if I turn off track number 19, everything stops playing, right? So that's how that works, okay? So the first thing I want to do is during this heaviest part of the track, if you look over here, I've got my reference track here, and it's turned off, and I have my bus track, and it's turned on, okay? If I go to Control K and I set up my key stuff, you'll see that both of these are set to key number 0, okay? And what that does is when I say 0, if I hit my 0 key on my keyboard, it toggles between those two, so I can get an accurate A and B comparison. So let's listen. My track, reference track, okay? Now, because I have a lot of headroom, whoops, in my own track, see, over here about 10 decibels, okay? what I've done with the reference track is I've turned it, well, down 12 decibels. So just so that they match in volume. I don't want one to be louder than the other because then I won't get an accurate representation of what's going on. So now listen to the reference track. Nice punchy bass, right? Crispy highs, but not too bad. Let's look at it on span. Okay, I see there's a nice high cut here. I see there's a lot of transients getting through, and I see that the subs are peaking out around 64 hertz. Okay, so if I listen to my own track, oh, there's a baby in the background, sorry. If I listen to my own track and look at it, you'll see that there's no dip here to hollow anything out. There's no accentuated bass, and the highs are kind of, the highs are okay in this, okay? But what I want to do now, just to see how things are going to work out, is I want to go to the width, and yeah, sorry about the baby, it's okay. She's a whiner sometimes, but man, she's beautiful and so cute. So I'm going to turn the, hold on. Okay, I'm going to turn the width way down so that I'm listening to both of these tracks in mono, okay? And mono is enough to give you any, to make any glaring, it'll make any mix mistakes glaring. So let's listen again. That's my track, okay? Here is the churn track, okay? Right away, you can hear the churn track has amazing bass, right? My track, not so much. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, while it's still in mono, is I want to go into my audio effects, and I want to grab an audio effects rack, and I want to drag that before, after my mono utility, okay, that's a utility by the way, and before the spectrum analyzer, and I want to take an EQ8, and I want to drop it into the rack, okay? Now, here's what I want to do inside of this rack, is I want to take this chain, okay, which is the EQ8, and I'm going to get rid of all of these except for the first one, and I'm going to make that one a high pass filter, hard high pass filter. And I want to scroll it up and listen to the track, and I want to isolate what is a proper representation of just the bass mix. Now listen. I say 111 is good, okay? That's just the bass of my track, okay? Now, I'm going to select this, Control D to duplicate, and this next chain, okay? What I'm going to do here is I'm going to, on the second one, is I'm going to change this one into a hard high pass at 111 hertz. Now, when I listen to both of them together, it will basically give me an accurate representation of my original track. Listen. Okay, now I have the highs, well, mids and highs, and the lows. Okay, so now this last thing is I'm going to duplicate this last one again, and this one I'm going to solo, and I'm going to scroll that in until I get an accurate representation of the highs being the top end of the snares and the hats. Now, and some synth stuff. Now listen. Okay, that's a pretty decent representation. Now I see that this is at 178. I'm going to pull that back just a little, or... Okay, that's high. 2710 or 2.7 kilohertz. So in that case, in this one, I want to make sure that I'll use number 4, and I will cut that off, hard cut, at 2710, 2.7 kilohertz. Okay, now, if I listen to them all, I have highs, mids, and lows. Now, perhaps you want to do these backwards and put the highs at the top. That makes more sense. But anyway, nonetheless, here's what I'm going to do next, okay? I'm going to take this rack, and I'm going to hold Control, or I'm going to copy, and I'm going to drag that over onto the reference track as well, okay? Now, in the reference track, I'm going to go ahead and I want that to be behind the span, okay? And I'm going to solo the bass, and I'm going to go to my track, and I'm going to solo the bass. Now listen, that's my track, and if I use the 0 button to toggle, I gotta go back. That's the reference track, okay? Hear how punchy that is? Look at the span. See where this is at, okay? And now, if I hit 0, toggle to my own, we go to my span, you'll see it's not quite there. So immediately what we want to do is we want to do a couple of things, okay? First off is remember this utility here? It is in mono, okay? I want to drag one of those over to the bass part of my chain. And I want it to be before the EQ. Why? Because everything that is below 111 kilohertz, I want it to be in mono, okay? I want no width in that stereo field whatsoever, okay? The very next thing that I want to do is I want to grab a glue compressor or your favorite compressor. You can use ozone compressors. You can use any kind of compressors. The Melda compressors are amazing and they're free. But because we're in live, I'm going to grab the glue compressor. I'm going to drop that sucker onto the bass here, okay? In fact, I'm going to just name this bass, okay? And now I'm going to draw back the threshold just a tad until I'm getting just a tad bit of ducking, okay? I'm going to turn the release up so where it's got a slow release, okay? And then I'm going to turn the makeup gain just a tad. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my reference track and listen. Oh man, why does it keep going up there? Okay. Reference track, my track. Okay, reference track is still a bit fuller as you can hear, so I'll go back to my track. Then what I'll do is I'll add a saturator at 111 hertz. Actually, I'm not going to add it at 111 hertz. I'm going to go back to the reference track and I'm going to look at where it's hitting here, and it looks like the average is about 62 hertz. So I'm going to throw on my own a saturator. I'm going to put it after the utility, before the EQ, okay? Actually, I'm going to put it after the EQ, and I'm going to set the drive to 0 at first. Frequency, we'll bring this to 60 hertz, okay? Now listen, drive it up just a tad. Ah, that thickens it up nicely, right? Okay, because the glue is on, it still holds together the volume. Listen. Okay, now let's reference. Ah, now that's a pretty good representation. I'm going to widen this up a little bit. Okay, so that's good, all right? So from there, now let's listen to the track by itself. Bass is a lot thicker, okay? We'll deal with that, the rest of that in a moment. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to solo the mids, okay? Let's go back to the reference track, solo the mids, and my track, okay? Reference track. They're almost identical, okay? Let's look at the span. This is on the reference track. My track. Let's go to my instance of span. I wish you could look at both of them from both channels at the same time. Pretty good. It does have some spikes and some transients. Let's add some compression, okay? So I'm going to go to another instance of glue compressor and drop it onto my chain. I'm going to pull it back until it's ducking just a tad. Give it a little boost. Okay, now listen. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Now let's solo the highs. Let's go to the reference track. Solo the highs. Here's the reference track, listen. Okay, here's mine. Okay, mine. Okay, so as you can hear, it sounds very, very close. Yeah, my screencast software ended there for a second, so I had to render that video, and I'm back right where I left off. So, sounds very, very close. I'm still going to grab a glue compressor and put it into the highs. Oh, no, rather not. Sorry. I got to go back to the main track. Okay. I'm going to take a glue compressor and put it into the highs. I'm going to roll it back just a tad until it starts to duck. And then I'm going to unmute this, or unsolo this, and I'm going to pull it up until it sounds right. I'll over-exaggerate it. Pull it back. Okay. And in the reference track, I want to listen to the full mix in comparison to mine. Okay, mine still is lacking in the bass department just a tad, so I'm going to go there and pull it up here at the makeup gain. Okay, that's about right. Okay, so now at this point what I want to do is I want to go to the reference track and I want to turn the width up to 100%. And I want to go to my track and I want to turn the width up to 100%, right? Now let's listen. Huge difference. Listen. Mono, stereo, right? And now we go to the reference track. Great. Now let's look at span. This is that reference track. You see what it looks like. Okay. Let's get rid of the processing that I did on there. In fact, let's get rid of that whole. See it? Now we'll go to my track. And let's take a look. Okay. There's still some spikes, some transients here. The bass is a lot more accentuated. The highs look great, okay? All of this is actually going to be taken care of with the maximization at the very end. So I'm gonna put myself, I'm gonna shrink this down. Listening, right? Okay, baby emergency. Nonetheless, so here we are. Now, in my own track, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of some maximization or something like that. But what you're going to notice is that right now, even as we are right now standing, when I A and B, a lot of that punchiness that is in the reference track is going to be restored when I add maximization or some limiting, right? But as it stands right now, I honestly think that my master is better than that reference track. Listen. It's big, it's full, and if I look over here, right, it hasn't really changed that much. That one's maybe a tiny tad quieter. If I look at mine and I take away all of my processing, listen, look at the volume over here, right? It hasn't really changed that much. It's not much louder, but it sounds way bigger and way fuller, right? Now, on these chains here, I don't have to use the Ableton stock crap. I could have used anything. If I feel that the bass if I feel that the bass is better compressed with another compressor or something, then I can still do that, right? So where we're at now, let me bounce through my track a few places to see how it sounds. With processing, without, okay, much fuller. Try here. Sounds good, okay? So now we'll go to maximization. I want to try to bring it up to close to 0 without squashing it too much. And for this, I'm going to step outside of live, and I'm going to grab Isotope Ozone 5. Yeah, I know, they're up to Ozone 7, but I can't afford Ozone 7, so I'm going to use number 5, because that's what I use. And to be honest, it doesn't even matter. There are some really good freeware maximizers and limiters that I could use, but I use Ozone, so that's what I'm going to use. So right now, before I do anything else, I'm going to set the margin down to 0.3 decibels. That way, it's not going to clip when it goes into the analog domain. I'm going to set the IRC to 3 because I can handle that much CPU, I believe. The character, I'm going to make it crisp and make it semi-fast, okay? And now, let's just listen as I drag this threshold down. Actually, I need to go back into a portion of the song that's fuller. Okay, now listen. It's not really limiting at all. Pull it down. Getting louder, louder. Okay, at this point, I have to turn my recording input down so that I'm not clipping my tape. Now listen. Still super loud. That's great. Okay, let's bypass it and listen. Okay, I'm going to go through one more thing, and that's I'm going to turn it back on. I'm going to look at the span and see if there's any stray frequencies, okay? Sometimes limiting does actually put accentuates some frequencies, makes them too crisp. Let's just listen and watch. Okay. I could theoretically add more compression here to try to cut these out, but to be honest, I think it sounds good, and I'm going to leave it like this, okay? I'm going to render this track out. If you want to hear it, well, you're going to have to check out the EP when it comes out on Tech Obsessed Audio Recordings. That is a label that is owned by the Nebulist, who is one of my favorite artists, actually, and yeah, he's disgusting. You should check out some of his stuff. Lately, he's doing a lot of breakcore and stuff like that, which if that's your cup of tea, you're going to love it. I do. But some of his earlier work is really, really bass heavy, really strange remixes of classic rock songs, which I know that some people aren't into that, and I'm not even into that so much, but the way he reworks old classic material is incredible. Anyway, SnowMetal University, please make sure that you subscribe. Go to soundcloud.com/snowmetal to check out some of my music and to stay afoot of when that is going to be released. Also, make sure that you follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/snowmetaluniversity and /snowmetal. And if you want to support me, go on eBay and check out user Donovan James, DONOVANJAMES, one word, Donovan James, and you can check out sample sets and other things on there that help me put food on the table. Everybody be blessed, and I will talk to you soon.